Welcome back from the break, Ram fans, and to the JT Double Take. I'm Terah Barrio.
And I'm Jessica Mendoza. Terah, Colorado has two teams in the playoffs that have made it to the second round. The Nuggets and the Avs are continuing to share the Pepsi Center, and this is marking history because this is the first time that both teams have made it to the second round of the playoffs in the same year. So this is really awesome for Colorado fans and sports fans.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the second time since 1989 that the Nuggets have made it. But for the Avs, they've made it in 2008, 2006, 2004, 2002, and then in 2001, they won the Stanley Cup. So yeah. I'm not super surprised about the Avs, but I'm super excited to see what happens with the Nugs.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give it up to both teams. They've both really done a lot. Beating the Flames and beating the Spurs in the first round is huge for both of these sports teams. So I just can't say it enough. It's awesome to be a Colorado native, to be in this time where they're both in the second round, and we're going to have to wait and see how far they can just make it in these playoffs this year.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with only one more series left of the season, the CSU softball team is so close from clinching the Mountain West title. They will be heading to Boise State, Idaho this upcoming weekend in hopes of making a dream a reality. Looking into the upcoming weekend against the Broncos, key players the Rams need to watch out for are junior infielder Brady Fillmore and senior outfielder Corey Wade. Fillmore, who was just awarded Mountain West Softball Player of the Week, also leads the Mountain West Conference with 14 home runs and is batting .362. Wade, who trails behind CSU Amber Nelson in batting average, is batting .427 with already having 64 hits this season. Both players have been huge assets to the Broncos this season and are definitely going to be a huge threat for the Rams up at the plate. Hitting was a huge struggle for the Rams this weekend in the second and third game against San Diego State. It took them a while in both games to find their rhythm up at the plate and figure out how not to get jammed on that inside pitch. But if the Rams come out playing just like they have been all season long and getting runs on board early, they should be able to clinch that title, win their title, and win their 8th straight Mountain West Series straight. Game 1 will be starting at 5 p.m. on Friday in Boise, Idaho.
Well, Terah, speaking of the softball team, there is one junior who happens to be a Colorado native.
Yes, Jessica. Haley Donaldson grew up here in Fort Collins, and I was able to sit down and talk to her about playing collegiate softball here in Fort Collins. Drive, hard work, and dedication is exactly what explains CSU softball player Haley Donaldson. The 21-year-old junior, born and raised here in Fort Collins, had a dream to play for a team she had watched her whole life. So Donaldson turned that dream into reality.
I kind of grew up going to Hughes Stadium and tailgating there with my family and growing up, so it's been a dream come true to play here because I grew up coming to these games, so it's crazy.
Donaldson comes from a family that has a long line of athletes, even some that played here at Colorado State.
It's awesome because I kind of just grew up in a family that played a bunch of sports. So my uncle actually played professional football and he played at CU Boulder. And my dad played football for a little bit here at CSU, and then my brother played baseball at Metro. And it's just kind of fun because I always chased him around and played wiffle ball, so it's kind of cool to see that aspect.
Haley's dad, John Donaldson, expresses his gratitude about his only daughter following in his footsteps after playing football here at CSU.
Oh, it's great. It's fun. It's just great to have her here and playing for CSU and for obviously such a great team and a great program, so it's been awesome.
Donaldson had played for Nebraska Huskers her first year of college, but after a year of playing for the Huskers, she thought it was time to come home, and so did her parents.
It's been unbelievable, and to have her close to home, it's just so much fun spending time with her. So we were ecstatic when she decided to come back.
Yeah, it was great. I told her she should have never went there in the first place. So it was great to have her back at CSU for sure. So.
Playing sports her whole life, Haley explains how her brother has been what has pushed her to be a better player.
Athletically, I would say my brother, just because he worked very, very hard in everything he did. And, you don't have to be the biggest or the fastest or the strongest, but you can definitely be the hardest worker and get somewhere from there.
Although Haley's older brother pushed her to be a better player, I wanted to ask her parents if there was ever any rivalry while growing up.
Well, they competed since she started walking. They just always were so competitive and played. They were in the backyard playing from football to softball to baseball, just always competing, and they still do anything that involves sports.
Haley explains what her biggest accomplishment is.
Just being a CSU Ram, honestly.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, but you can catch the full story on our YouTube channel 11.
Yeah, but Terah, despite that was a really awesome story, just the fact that she's so inspired by her brother, and it seems like her family is so supportive. Even the dog is so cute.
Yeah, that family is so down to earth, and it was really fun being able to talk to them and hear all about her story.
Yeah, well, she'll be a senior next year. And speaking of seniors, it was senior day on Saturday for the CSU track and field team as the Rams competed in their final home meet of the season at the Jack Christensen track. And the team really turned up the heat for their final competition at home and for their senior teammates, which includes Kelsey Bedard, Macy Kreutz, Nathaniel Gish, Eli Oftedal, and many more. Starting off the morning, the men's 4x100 topped their previous season high. In the men's 400-meter hurdles, Jermaine Barnes took the lead in the Mountain West with his new fastest time, and 2 more records were broken during the meet by Jessica Ozude in the women's 200-meter dash and by Jackson Morris, who is now CSU's all-time leader for the javelin throw. Morris marked an amazing distance of 68.69 meters. Up next, the track team will be competing in the Mountain West Outdoor Championship in Fresno, California next week.
Well, Rams, it's time for another week of Disrupted Picks. Today we have a submission from Chloe Jacobs, and she asks, now that the NFL draft is over, what players do we see that may get cut or traded? Well, Jessica, what do you think?
So the first person that probably comes to my mind is Brian Hoyer with the Patriots, just because Tom Brady, you know, being a backup quarterback for Tom Brady, that's always got to be tough. But they've picked up a new quarterback from Auburn in the 4th round, so I think just they don't need, the Patriots having Tom Brady, they don't need 3 quarterbacks, and they've definitely dealt with 2 quarterbacks in the past many, many times. So I think that if he isn't really going to show them a whole lot, especially during mini camps and team camps and stuff like that, I can definitely see him either getting traded or just getting cut because he is 33, so his career could be coming to an end pretty soon.
Yeah, and that's same for Daniel Lee, inside linebacker for the New York Jets. I'm honestly just kind of surprised he's still on the roster, considering they have signed 2 inside linebackers in the consecutive years, Avery Williamson and C.J. Mosley. So I just feel like, personally, for Lee, he would either thrive, I think he would thrive on a different team, a team who is in need of an inside linebacker, and he'd see the field better, or field more, I believe, than he is going to this season.
Yeah, and I definitely think we have to talk about Tyreek Hill. We talked about him earlier on our Disrupted Picks, but there's been more information that's come out from all of the domestic abuse that he's been involved in. And the Chiefs have continued to say, you know, we're going to have to wait and see how this turns out. We're going to take our time making this decision. But I definitely think it is that time that the Chiefs do drop Tyreek Hill from their roster. And I think it shows in their first pick of the draft, they picked up wide receiver Mecole Hardman. So I definitely think that Tyreek Hill will be one player who we won't see in the NFL next year.
Yeah, and one more player that I know both of us are going to agree on is the quarterback for the Dolphins, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, definitely. We could definitely see him go as well.
Yeah.
Well, especially with Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
You definitely got to think about how they just got Josh Rosen as a trade, so yeah, they're definitely not going to need another quarterback there as well.
Yeah, and I feel like he should go to a team that is in desperate need of a starter or an up-tier backup.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rams, that is all we have for you this semester. But for more sports news throughout the rest of the year, be sure to follow us on Twitter at sports_CTV. I'm Jessica Mendoza.
And I'm Terah Barrio. But stick around because up next is Justin Rios, has all details on FOCO MX. Don't go anywhere.